What's up, man? Devin, what's up, dude? All right. Yes, I'm reading all the questions on the Discord right now. I'll be going over them here. What up, Steven? What's up? All right, guys. I've got some pretty crazy analysis to do here. Analysis, man. AMC analysis and market analysis. And I wanted to, I was gonna make a video about this, just like a short video, but it's too much, man. I recorded it and everything, and it's just too long, so I figured I'd just go live and talk about it. Carla, what's up from Alabama? Look at that. Ditto. Can you look at Pepe? Yes, we'll be looking at Pepe, AMC. And we're doing a macro update, guys, on this, so we're going to be looking at the macro outlook, looking at the points of interest, and go from there. Because that, dude, that's what's important right now, is tracking the cycle. The cycle is showing us that, well, right now we are tracking two very important points of interest that are coming up. And I'm going to say this again and again and again, but this does not mean that we are projecting a squeeze on the POIs. That's just an opportunity for the price to rise on that 12 to 15 day window that we track. And previously here, the cycle did not go up again. So it's been beat, guys. AMC has been in a massive distribution phase. It hasn't changed. It sucks. But at the end of the day, we keep doing we keep trying to crack it down, figure out what is next year for AMC, right? So that's what we're gonna do. Crack it down, figure it out. So this is what I have so far. We're gonna pull up the cycle first. The lovely cycle, lovely 62-day cycle. All right, two POIs we got coming up. All right, and this is answering one of the first questions on the Discord. All right. We got December, right around mid-December time. So in the next 2 weeks, that's the one coming up. And then we have these three over here. So February, and then the next one I believe is April. So these three, I'm going to remove the cycle so we can kind of see things a little bit more clear here, April. These are the little ranges that we track, and very small window in between these guys. Anything in between, chances of volatility are very low. So the price will normally trade sideways. We'll crush these contracts. The premiums go down. Volatility crush, theta crush, all that stuff happens typically in between. The only time we've seen volatility kick in outside was in the after-hour session where the price pumped 100% and dumped immediately after. So clearly this was an error in the cycle. The price did not, the algorithm did not want to push things through, right? If the algorithm was going to push it through in the cycle, this thing would have squeezed back then, right? Liquidity grab, pump, dump, inverse squeeze right on the point of interest coming down. All right, so the next three, December 15, February 21st. These are just like right in the middle of the cycle. The 12-day window is probably around the 6th day. Okay, and then from this, okay, knowing that these are the next volatility zones in the cycle, where they have potential, right? Not guaranteed, but they have potential to do it. Now we track the patterns, the indicators, and then just the overall outlook here on AMC, like just the everything, man. We went over market cap, we went over a few other things on the last live stream, and which is important at the end of the day. I believe I did, right? I'm pretty sure I covered that but I'm going to cover it anyways. I covered it on the Discord. I'm going to cover it here. All right. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. I was like, dude, is there a little lag or something? Okay. Guys, indicators. 3 indicators that you guys, I know I'm not a fan of in the short term. I hate looking at fundamentals in the short term because I don't believe that the price, the algorithm has in its favor, because then it would be too predictable, right? A stock has good fundamentals in the short term, and then everybody's bullish, and then that just doesn't work, right? Markets here are typically develop the price action, forecasting what the fundamentals are going to be in the end. That's typically the way the market works. So we're just going to be looking at fundamentals here on the daily chart just to get some things out of the way as far as the overall sentiment on AMC. And I just look at 3. I'm going to be looking at market cap. We're going to be looking at total equity and total revenue. These are just 3 that I check. Now, this is wrong. I'll do quarterly here. You can get a better. I did equity again. There we go. All right. So we know AMC is still in a little bit of debt, right? And I want to talk about the market cap chart here. I just there's something about the market cap chart that I think it makes it a little bit hard for us to kind of look at the actual chart, right? The chart, the market cap chart is basically everything combined as far as splits and dilution on the stock. You're going to be able to see that on the market cap. Whereas on the chart, sometimes it can be a little misleading, right? Because right now we're trading at all-time low levels, but on market cap, we're not, right? AMC used to be trading at 300 million. Right now, it's trading above 1.3 billion, and this is all because of dilution and these like reverse splits that we've had. So, yeah, very interesting way to look at the chart, but I'm going to be talking about certain things here. Revenue is climbing. I mean, it's been climbing. We're on the quarterly. It's been climbing since 2020, obviously after this dip, and now we're basically at the same levels that we were before that. So this is 2018. Now, that's a good sign, right? Fundamentally speaking, like revenue's climbing, it hasn't been going down. So we can just check that off. Okay, fundamentals. And if you're a believer in the movie industry and the movie theater industry and everything that's been going on, opportunities that have came up, right, with Taylor Swift, other artists, stuff like that, I think that's going to be popping in the future. I don't think it's just going to go away, all right? This ain't no Wally World, man. Not yet, at least. So with that, just taking fundamentals out the way for a little bit, now we look at market cap. All right, and market cap is important to look at right now based on the cycle. Okay, some of the things that we can watch out for in the short term and why I'm not looking to do anything with AMC right now. Remember, guys, on the little 13-day window that happens going into December, potentially going to have an opportunity, but a lot needs to happen before that. And I want to talk about the bearish outlook and the bullish outlook, just to be fair on both sides, right? So what does the market cap chart tell us, right? It looks very similar to AMC's chart. The structure looks the same. It's a pump and dump. But if you were looking at all-time low levels on market cap, which is something that's hidden, okay, we are sitting at 1.3. All-time low is, think of it, almost 10x. I'm going to say 200 and round, right? 1.3 and then maybe 200. So that means that we're about 6 to 7x away from these low levels. On the chart, the way that would be displayed would be the price now divided by 6 or 7, right? And that's if the price wants to go down to all-time lows. That doesn't need to happen. but it is something to think about and consider with, again, all the dilution and all the splits that we've had before. There's just something to track here. That would be an extreme bearish case, right? Saying that the price would go down to $1. That wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good. But even if it did that, guys, it did it before. It's done it back in 2020, and then the price went, from $1 to 70. So it would be, diluting the shareholders even more. But it doesn't mean the price can't come back up to the highs that it previously was trading at. It's just, yeah, man. Like that's the thing about market cap and overall price here. It's just a little bit complicated to understand. And with that, market cap and AMC trading at $6.60 right now, negative 2%. GME is up. I'll talk about the market as well. But I want to talk about the cycle here and some of the other stocks that right now we're tracking that have already done this pump and dump. Okay, and there's only two that I'm tracking that are narrowing down these POIs, right? So we have three. We have December. He's got moved. December, February, and April. Now there is one stock right now, and that is NVAX. I've already covered this for those that know which fractals we're tracking. NVAX. This is the one that we're tracking right now for a potential push to the upside, and I think it checks out when looking at the overall markets, because there's right now, I believe the markets are in I'm saying the entire market is cycling between. So sectors are cycling between three different phases. And these phases are accumulation, reaccumulation, and advancing. The markets, I don't believe, are distributing anymore. Some of them, you're still seeing a little bit of distribution, but that little distribution that you're seeing is actually long-term accumulation. And the reason I believe this is because we're tracking like 3 or 4 stocks right now on the Discord that are all currently in that accumulation phase, heading on to either advancing or reaccumulation, which is bullish. So, man, with these sectors turning around, right? We got NVIDIA right now is in advancing, but it's almost getting ready to come down. It could trade sideways up there for a little while, but it's going to come down eventually. And these guys went first, right? NVIDIA was one of the first stocks to come back from last year's dump in 2022, right? So it's been a pretty interesting year here with these small to mid cap stocks that have just been absolutely beat down in this being AMC, right? So I'm going to pull up one more pattern here. We're going to look at here in the long term why I think AMC is doing this. So the pattern scanner actually found this match. This is NVAX. I'm just getting the historical data. So there's more to back it up, guys. So it's not just that it has correlation from December to December, right? An entire year of correlation here between the two. But look at all of this other data, right? It's in distribution. It's going down. And the levels are also hitting the same, right? We got the all-time high. We got this mid-range. We got more distribution here. And then right before it dumps, the structure looks the same as well. So I really like this pattern. I do think that, this is calling for accumulation. So I do think that we're in that stage right now. But it's also calling for about 2 cycles to do that before the price starts to go up again. Here is we see where it is. Okay, and on Twitter yesterday, I posted, or on X, I posted the cycle that I think we're tracking, which is tracking inverse right now. I basically said that June 2021 right now is playing out inverse. So this entire section here in the cycle is just flipped. It's doing this right now. And if we take this into account, all right, then we can start to narrow down these points of interest, right? Here we go. That's what we're going to do now. Bring over the cycle. Bring over that pattern. Lay it right over. Okay? Guys, this right here, okay, it's just flipped around, and it's the cycle, right? Okay, so all I'm doing is flipping it, because I believe that the algorithm right now is doing this inverse. And we can clearly see that this is happening, right? Because this was an inverse squeeze. The price goes up, goes down 1,000%. It's equivalent to somebody going long. If somebody's going short here, and they exit down here, it'd be about 1,000%. Not 90%, right? Because freaking, I hate the way that they calculate. They shouldn't calculate it like that, man. It's like, it's just not the same. It's not the same. So look at this, dude. Look at this pattern. It's really, it's just, dude, here's your arc. I'm going to split it up into the little phases that I'm talking about, right? There's a few. So we can do this together. Here is the inverse squeeze. So we're going to turn this guy red. Inverse squeeze was supposed to be a squeeze, right? Inverse squeeze. And then following the inverse squeeze, where it peaked, we have the arc formation. The arc formation is the pattern we use for the cycle. And this is just a redistribution phase. Redistribution phase. And it really is, it should be this, probably this entire section here would be considered like, well, no, it would be redistribution here in the short term. But this entire thing is accumulation. Because if you look at the pennant that broke down, right, this massive flag we were in for a little while. All right, I was bullish myself, right? We thought this was a projector. The price was going to come back up. But then what happened? All right, you pull up the cycle, and we have the same thing. We have an inverse squeeze right here on the point of interest. Another inverse squeeze. So if this flips up, which is currently doing that, we're currently like right here in the cycle. If this starts to flip up, then that means the bottom is close. I know that right now the price is, the levels are not exactly the same. Like we're pretty much trading over here, right? The pattern looks more like this. And we're trading up here somewhere. So I think the bottom is close, but it can do anything until the next POI comes in and hits, which is, here it was November, and then here it's not until, I believe, April time, man. April time would be that massive drop that happened in November. Okay, so here to right here, November. Actually, no, it's February. It's February, not November. So with that, guys, watch this. We pull up the accumulation phase that is currently taking place, and then we pull up the pattern that we're tracking with NVAX, and it checks out, right? I mean, look at this, dude. The drop here is even the same, right? We got the initial drop comes in. This is the arc, the little arc breaks down, and then this little section that you're seeing right here is right here, right? Because these will all just cancel each other out. So this happened here, this happened here, this is currently happening probably over here somewhere. They don't have to be a match. It doesn't have to be one-to-one here. That's why I like looking at things on the macro chart, right? Going way back, not paying attention too much to what's going on the micro. And then, like, it checks out, right? Right there. 1, 2, accumulation, advancing. So we got 1, 1, 2, accumulation, and advancing. Okay. Look at this too, man. On the weekly chart, levels indicator, Guys, this indicator here is pretty cool. We use this indicator to, like, it's the newest indicator on the Discord, and it shows you the levels that are overbought and oversold. So overbought, oversold. Look at how much we need here to come back into that first level range here. So we're very close to it. Every time we cross it, it does come back into that range. There's good correlation to that. The only other time I can see that things did not go that way was 2017. It got very close to it, just kind of wrote it down. And it had a spring formation before going back in, right? Okay, so things are looking pretty good on that. Okay, a few other things. Spots, we're still riding this wave. We're waiting for this thing to break up. From the last pink spot, we have a negative 91% decrease, which I've already said it's equivalent to 1,000%. So that sucks. But we rode this wave down here for quite some time before turning around as well. So just waiting for these levels to be crossed and hit before the price turns around for good, like actually starts climbing up. Bring this back here. All right, I'm gonna go over some of the other stocks, guys, but I'm gonna come back to AMC here, but I do want to talk about the outlook here on the markets first, because this is going to affect AMC anyways, right? So I'm going to answer some of the questions on the Discord too. Right now we're tracking a few plays. Got Peloton, been tracking this one for a little while. Now Peloton, there's no reason why this one should be trading here, okay? Again, looking back on the outlook of things, right? You see a stock that is dying will be, well, revenue, equity is all going to be going down with the stock. But if revenue and total equity is going up while it's going down, divergence just means that they're beating this thing down, waiting for it to come back up. So one of the stocks that I believe is going to be a winner next year, early next year, is Peloton. Right now we are tracking 6 points of interest in the cycle on the Discord. And this one right here is one of them. And it's one that has a short-term POI coming up. So I went over this too and talked about this little accumulation phase here, right? Because this thing's been distributing for a long time. We have now just entered this little phase right here. It's just accumulation. And there's a few things to back this up. It's at 550 right now. It's now crossing resistance, heading up to 575. From there, I think it's going to go all the way up to 650 first. And I've got some patterns to kind of back this up here. So we're tracking GME on this one. Here's GME. Good old GME. All right. GME, man. GME right here. Also, we are tracking the 120-day cycle on this one. So from the initial drop all the way up to this spike here GME had, 160 days or 120 days. Same amount of time it took AMC to go from January to June of 2021, 120 days. It's same thing that happened in March to August, and then from November to March as well. All of them were 120 days. So taking a look at this, the price is not guaranteed to go up here in the short term. I personally think it will. I think it's going to start climbing up. There is resistance right here, this hanging wick. Always track, man. I always track those hanging wicks. Usually the price goes up there to grab some liquidity. Algorithm puts it in there before it gets up, right? Grabs liquidity, comes down, accumulates, and then comes back up if it's an accumulation. So the pattern here is calling for a series of pump and dumps, right? This is it's just riding up, creating a little parabolic setup before it just squeezes. I don't believe, based on this, I think GameStop was a very specific case. Using this fractal 1-to-1 is going to be very hard to do, but I am a big believer, right, in the POIs. And the POIs here, the big ones are December 21st, and then basically in between that time, looking at this trajectory here, price could trade sideways and then pop at some point before continuing to go up by the volatility zone, on the volatility zone. So based on this short-term setup here, I think we've kind of narrowed things down to a arc up. It's a pattern that we track in the markets. It has the initial, you can see it with volume, has the initial pump. That gets rejected. Typically, it doesn't get rejected all the way down, and then you have a redistribution phase. This is arc up. If it's reaccumulation, if it's redistribution, then it's just going to come down to low levels again. I don't think we're going to have that, though. I think this is going to start pumping here with the markets because they're holding up pretty well. And I think Peloton's holding up pretty well right now, dude. Let's go on the 30-minute. Yeah, 30 minutes good. Good old resistance and support trend lines. So we are looking for a parallel channel breakout right now. Okay, on the levels indicator, we are now going into, on the 30-minute, I do like, we are very close to crossing that fourth level. So we haven't done it yet in this parallel channel. So that's a good sign, because on that first break, okay, it's either going to, and this is where you watch out for either a quick liquidity grab or a continuation. Normally you're going to see that with time. So for example, here, we were in a little parallel channel for a little bit, and then it broke out very quickly, and then in about 2 hours, it came back in. So that's what you want to watch out for here for Peloton, is a break, holds above, you start to see some green, not come back into that fourth level. Because if it comes back into that fourth level, then it makes it extremely hard for the price to turn around. So I want to see it kind of hover up and hold before continuing to go up like that. Now, I've already talked about the targets. I do think that if we go up to 650, we might get a little bit of resistance there. My internet crash or something? Okay, we're good. All right, guys, so take a look at this too. We have on Peloton, I talk about these hanging wicks that it's almost a way to like liquidity grabs, guys. The way it works, very simple, but these algorithms that pump the price very quickly, this happens more in crypto than it does the market, but they're stopping people out. They're grabbing liquidity, stopping them out, or they're liquidating them very quickly. And then what happens is it's a way to get traders to second guess themselves, and then the algorithm basically comes all the way back down, says psych, trades sideways, and then comes back in and then pushes that liquidity through again. And here are some examples of it doing that, except here the price never crossed that hanging wick, right? It's hanging here for a little while. Every time it comes up, it got rejected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it redistributes. Okay, so here we haven't even crossed it. We haven't even got close to it. So why I'm tracking this as a major level of resistance? I think that if it goes up to 650, it's probably going to come down for a little bit, because the POIs that we're tracking right now, based on the 120-day cycle and the overall structure of this pattern, is not calling for extreme upside until the end of December. So I don't feel comfortable holding, even though it can keep going, I don't feel comfortable with that past that level. Also, something else I talked about here was draw a curve. Curves are great. Okay, this right here, and then this is just kind of based on, I'm going to flip this so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about here, but this is just based on the levels indicator that we are tracking right now. So I'm drawing a curve. This is the middle of this, and basically what this is telling me is the price has not came down to the 475 range yet either. So does the price, can the price come up here? Sure. But there's still a massive hole that needs to be kind of filled. If you're looking at this from a, I love looking at just patterns from a symmetrical perspective, because you like, that's the way these guys do it, right? They'll pump the price up very quickly and then they'll just bring it back down, and then they'll keep pumping it up like that. Right, so this is what I'm watching out for. If it goes up to 650, I think there's a high chance that it's going to come back to 475, and then they're going to pump it like crazy. Now you got yourself the arc formation. You go back, you get some reference patterns, right? We get AMC in this. I'm saying, guys, we track. All of this is possible. This is all just possible because of AMC, honestly. I wouldn't be looking at these patterns, man, if it wasn't for Amy. So we're taking it from the peak over here, and this is what I mean by this, right? We got the arc. Okay, we split it up the same way. I'm going to put up and try and line up these levels here a little bit up to the point into where things flip, right? So here, I'm going to do it like this from the arc. Okay. So here's the arc. There, this is where the POI lies. But I am tracking this portion inside here. So again, not tracking these one-to-one because there's a lot of gaps. But if you look at the overall structure, the same thing, right? On the curve, it typically does and has a correlation of coming back into that curve as resistance. So I'm just being cautious with that, but looking at volume as the main, basically the main catalyst here for this. Because if volume starts to say something happens in the after-hour session and it gaps up, well, then maybe the story is different there. If it goes above 650, well, now it's crossed resistance, and it's probably going to head up and grab liquidity somewhere else. So those are the only two things I'm watching out for here in case resistance is crossed. But that, yeah, 650 is it for it. All right, guys, so Peloton, that is what I got. Let's cover SPY. SPY, man, is... SPY is SPY. SPY is SPY. All right. Okay. So SPY is getting very close to crossing the 460 range. It hasn't crossed yet. I know there's some catalysts that are happening currently, but okay, levels indicator, got to watch for this one. The price right here is not showing any signs that it's going to dump like for good, right? I do not believe, based on the overall tracking here, that we're going to see 410 for a long time. Like by towards the end of the year, I think we're closer to crossing resistance at 480 than I think we'll ever be coming back down to 410. This is a massive pump, and it's not stopping. I know there is. We were tracking this originally here for the possibility of it even coming back into and going to 440 before climbing back up. But even then, even if we go to 440, we're way closer. Overall structure here, way closer to crossing resistance that we are coming back down. So I'm not bearish on SPY. SPY, I think, is got more juice, and we're looking at this indicator here for this here, but I'll show you guys where I think we are and how the algorithm's going to flip here. So right off the bat, what do we have here? We have this is the daily chart levels indicator. We have oversold territory once, very quickly spring twice. The only other time this has happened where we can track historically the levels as well is over here. Okay, it's oversold, comes back in to the second level, which is what happened here, and then very quickly springs and goes all the way up, overbought, and then all the way back down, right? But here, the only difference is, well, this right here did not happen before that. We were in a advancing stage here in the markets. So this is just reaccumulation, in my opinion. I think we're reaccumulating and we're about to advance going into next year, early next year. Okay, so taking this pattern from there, right here, you can see the levels, taking some of the levels right there. Okay, it's basically calling for downside in the short term, but not every pattern has to track the same way. I think something more likely to happen here is that on this first drop, see how it comes down to the second level? I told everybody on the Discord too, it's likely that this trades sideways for a little bit up in this range. If you see it bounce back up to 460 and cross, probably a very quick liquidity grab. That automatically is going to change the structure here and probably have something like this where it comes down to 440, getting ready for this advancing stage next year. So early next year, the market should start to turn around if this does happen here. It's just a very quick come down, fill this gap, and then also, guys, indicator I haven't brought in here for a little bit here. Candles. No, it's not candles. Change. Here we go. Another thing to track. Okay, this is a way we were able to catch the peak here on this indicator. The correlation with that around 10 to 11 range for SPY coming down is pretty high here. So it typically comes down and then seems to come down about 5% once it reaches this level. So right here, if it did that, say it would come down, pop back up, trade sideways for a little bit. Same thing. You have a period where the markets just trade sideways before getting ready to cross resistance. I think they're going to cross resistance sometime before April. I think April time, the crypto markets right now are getting ready to maybe have one last breakdown before climbing back up. Dude, but I've never been more bullish in the crypto markets. I don't think we're going to come back down to 10 or 15 or whatever anymore. The markets are showing they want to push fast, quick. Crypto's been a hot topic over the last 2 years, and they've just been dumping it ever since they talked about it in 2021. I think the big money is getting ready to come in. So let's look at the hourly chart, man. And then I'll if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the chat. Okay. One thing I'm tracking too, and this is, I'm going to pull up one pattern for this. I think this happens a lot too, and why I think we're going to come down to 440. Okay, so this is your resistance break trend line. Very similar to this one over here. Okay, I have a projection on this on TradingView if you guys want to check it out, but it's one way we predicted this bounce that happened here from October. This is just a fake out. And the fake out behaves pretty well when looking at these support and resistance trend lines because it just bounces off of that trend line and then it starts going back up. So here we tested this trend line about 4 times before breaking it and then coming back in. Here, a little bit different, right? We tested it only 3 times, but we still have a, like if we were taking the average here of the trend lines, it would probably look something like this, right? Where it comes down here and like that. And that's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 breakout. Okay, and then here it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then breakout. So very similar. I'm going to take this pattern here and show you guys what this would look like here if we did something similar. Okay. Now narrowing down these POIs here, right? Levels are clearly not the same, but the structure is. So here is that phase, right? You trade sideways, you come back up, and then the price comes down, retests support, now becomes support, is resistance, now becomes support, then you start to turn around. And then you go up higher and higher and higher, you get close to, you know, macro resistance, and that looks freaking awesome, man. I love this. This is perfect. Now we get close, very close, potentially get rejected there because it doesn't want to break it right away. It wants to have a more dramatic breakout. And you guys know that here in the markets, when you get close to things, like if we haven't crossed resistance in a while, I think this is what, 2 years? It's a while. Let's see if we have something here. In 2007, we got close to it a few times here, 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 and then we finally broke it. So probably something like that. Yeah, comes down, gets close. Maybe we'll break it in February because that is a POI in the crypto markets. That's a POI with AMC. If we don't break it in February, then I think we're going to break it in April. And when we break it, guys, 500 is a psychological level. So you don't just, you don't just hit 500 and then it comes down. You hit 500, you push through a little bit, and then you start to come down. And I think this is where it's really going to suck for the longs, because once you break that range, the markets, they're bullish again, and they start pushing this narrative out. The markets are bullish. And then the markets just do, they just do something like this where they just, there's not really that much volatility. Once all that money's in there, and it finally crosses, you might have a very short period where there is volatility, but once the trajectory is up and they start to turn around like that, the markets begin to trade like this, right? And that's the opportunity there, guys. It just stops doing this. Basically stops doing this. The markets are now bullish, and you get crypto starts to come down, right? All that stuff. All right, so we're going to go over crypto now. Because I think some plays are about to start climbing up here. But first, if you guys were here on the live stream that I had about a week or two ago, I talked about one very important cryptocurrency that I thought was going to squeeze. And where did that happen? It happened right here. Okay, it was November 17, right here. We talked about MDT. What is MDT up right now? MDT is up from that 142%. So this cryptocurrency, along with two other ones, and I do have the POIs on here. You can see we pulled this up as well. MDT, right there on the POI list. Now, when I have these dates on this indicator here, I just put them on there for reference, and track what I am tracking based on that, right? This one went up 144%. I think it's close, very close to coming down. It just broke resistance. But yeah, I want to show you guys this because this is how we track and narrow down these points of interest in the cycle using everything the cycle has to offer, right? Like all the reference patterns, the indicators, and with this one specifically in crypto, all in one is the best indicator for this because you can track other patterns in the market way better than just doing it, even using the pattern scanner too. It's the pattern scanner is great, but all in one is really good at showing the rate of change of other stocks in the market that the algorithm has already flushed, right? So that was a way where I was able to track this one, okay, along with SNX and IMX2, which are also looking really good. So IMX, we had it coming up here, starts climbing up. Now, IMX right now is currently in what we call a hovering projector pattern. This one is also bullish. So these guys are due next. SNX also just riding up. But MDT was the winner there, 150%, man, on that. So let's talk about Bitcoin and what we have tracking right now for Bitcoin. Okay. And then I'll go over some questions. Okay. So with Bitcoin, we are tracking two very important patterns that are the same pattern, but they're one of them is more of a fractal than it is 1-to-1. And the reason I'm tracking this, and I feel that the overall markets are tracking this, is because Bitcoin is a commodity, right? So we are tracking gold here. And gold, I use that Onda is going to have the most data. So gold in 1975 was trading Here we go. I have all this data here for you guys. So gold in 1975 was trading at a market cap of 1.2 trillion considering inflation, right? The market cap it would have been a lot lower, but this is taking inflation into account. Bro, I asked ChatGPT, it was like, yo, it's 1.2, okay? So 1.2, and then guess what? 1.2 is what Bitcoin was trading at up here. It's got to go to Bitcoin market cap, right? Bitcoin market cap percentage. No, we need to see the actual market cap. USD, it should just be the first one, right? Market cap. Crypto market cap. Right there, guys. 1.28. So this is gold. This is Bitcoin. Gold is, right now, is a very well held and supported commodity in the world, right? But what about Bitcoin, man? This is what I'm saying. Bitcoin there's probably some kind of transfer of wealth that's happening. Guys, we talked about this way before this thing started to pop back up. And the reason I think this is going to happen with Bitcoin is because I think we're the markets just in general look very similar right now to 1974. Like there's pre-war talks and stuff, and also this was the technological advancement age in the markets here. This is very revolutionary here going into 1980. So yeah, man, I love this pattern. I think the patterns look almost identical, considering that the markets were very, just the structure of the markets and algorithm trading and stuff was very different in the 1970s. But again, guys, looking at it from the macro chart, you want to look at the weekly, you want to look at the daily, and just get an overall smooth chart, right? Smooth version of the chart. So Bitcoin being in a massive projector pattern right now, riding up, look at this pattern right here. So this is just, again, a hovering projector is what we call it. It goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 6, and it never stops. It's not a clear run like this one. It takes time to develop. This took almost 3 years, right? Now, the difference here, and this is why it's a fractal, and part of it is not. Part of it is 1-to-1. I believe everything back here is 1-to-1, and then this part is what we're using right now as a fractal. Because I think this is going to happen a lot quicker than this. This took 3 years. I think this is going to happen in about 1.5. So November going into 2024, yeah, about 1.5. That's the only difference, right? I think with time also, technological advancement, stuff like that, taking all that into consideration, things are a lot quicker nowadays. They happen a lot quicker. So here's a pattern, man. Here's the pattern overlaid on top. Let's go to Bitcoin USDT, man. Gold. And here we go. Here we are. So this is basically saying that the markets are going to peak sometime in February. And I agree with that. I think that the crypto markets are going to peak, and then they're going to trade maybe sideways for a little while before riding back up into next year. It's going to be very choppy on the way up. But what does this mean, right? Because Bitcoin is one thing. If it does this, it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for some of these extremely beaten down cryptocurrencies. And that is where I think the opportunity lies, right? SPY goes up, trajectory is pointing up, and that gives the opportunity for the small cap and mid cap stocks to climb. So this is tracking, man. It's looking good. I think the first level to track right now on Bitcoin is going to be 45. There's a lot of liquidity there, okay? And I think that's where it's headed first. I think it's going to stop some shorts out there. Okay, first level here about 48, maybe 48. Yeah, like very quickly to the 49 range, not quite 50, because you also have to think about people taking profits. I think a lot of them probably have a take profit at 50, and it's kind of weird the way this works, right? From a psychological perspective, guys, if you're a short here, like a long-term short, a lot of them are not going to give that room. You're not going to give that room here for being stopped out. Volume profile is going to show you that here, but it gives the, if this happens, right? I'm just talking on hypotheticals. But if they stop everybody out here, because it's like technically the, like this is, so there's a few other high points here, but I think most people would be, looking at 48 being stopped out, and then the price comes down or whatever, and then most people on the long side would probably pick 50,000 being that, and that the algorithm probably knows that. I know I'm just talking on hypotheticals, but I see this happen a lot on the micro chart, so I feel like this would be something the algorithm would do. Now let's look at the volume profile heat map. Okay, so right now, based on everything here, Bitcoin, so this is not the volume profile. There's a lot of accumulation down here. Okay, going up to it here, not that much volume, so it kind of makes sense that it stops at that range we talked about, because that's where you start to see a little bit more volume come in. But obviously, point of control makes sense. You got your high over here, and you have the accumulation phase here. So yeah, I don't think we're going to come all the way down here anymore. If anything, that would have happened at the 25 range. Would have seen this kind of turn around quickly and do that. But yeah, man, none of these patterns are calling for that. It's just parabolic, dude. Parabolic, creating higher lows every time. Higher lows here. You're also, with higher lows, the trend line is changing consistently. It gets higher and higher every time. Degrees change slightly, but it is changing. So based on this, it looks like if this was the first trend line here, because it is, and this was the second, yeah, Bitcoin would like probably do something like this, dude. Like, man, Going up to it February here. So maybe like a short-term drop and then boom, pop. Going to 49, right? 48, 49. Comes down. Trade sideways. Like that. And continues to climb up, man. Wow. And then maybe here it does come down to that first one, right? And then creates more of like a macro retest at support and then start climbing back up again. But yeah, dude, I think next year is going to be really bullish for crypto. The only thing that would happen here that I think would turn things around completely is if they regulate something that it doesn't favor the... I know right now they're already starting to kind of crack down on the whole Binance thing and everything, which I'll go over after this because I think Binance is going to dump. But, yeah, apart from that, I mean, Bitcoin, man, Bitcoin is doing Bitcoin. I think we're headed up. So BNB also, this one here, there's a pattern we're tracking, guys. Guess what that pattern is? It's AMC. So doesn't have to track, but considering that the crypto markets kind of, you know, they pick, you know, we had FTX go down. I know that history doesn't have to repeat itself or anything, but this is not saying that BNB would come down to a penny, right? Like most of these brokers did. I think Binance wouldn't crash in that sense where it would just go down to $1 or anything like that. The only problem with this one is how quickly it ran up in 2021 and how it just hasn't had a chance to distribute. This thing has been trading sideways while the crypto markets are dumping like crazy. This thing went from 600 to 200, where, yeah, I mean, you almost can't even compare that to the amount of beat the crypto markets have had. So I think this one here is very interesting. Just looking at what the crypto markets have been doing, like once they peak, I think that's where some kind of catalyst will come out here, right? Now we have the CEO who had to like resign and stuff. The markets here are going to be regulated more, so more competitors are going to come in the game, right? You start to look at more maybe these like DeFi brokers or some of these other brokers coming in, right? These guys are basically a monopoly right now in the crypto space. So I think when more competition comes in, crypto games early, it just kind of makes this a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit weaker. But here's that pattern, guys. I mean, we're tracking this one to come down sometime, probably going into February as well, which means, well, if the crypto markets are going to peak then, kind of checks out, right? You have one last pump, grab some liquidity, bring it back down, and then this thing distributes very quickly in February while the crypto markets settle and start climbing back up. So it might not look the same way. I mean, there's definitely some flaws in this pattern, but I do like how I do like how some of these levels are hitting here. I think this one is going to come down. We'll see what the catalyst is if that happens. If it doesn't, then it's going to turn around, dude. I mean, it's got to do something here. And trying to like also see, like, think about the man, this is, I don't know, man. I don't think it's looking so good compared to the other stocks. Let's see the changes indicator. This looks like. What was the stock? I feel like I've seen this pattern play out before too, man. Like, I don't know if it was DWOC or what, or Coinbase. Dude, it just looks like it's so behind. Like, it's so behind, dude. Support. Yeah, it's like maybe it comes back up, the retest. This trend line gets faked out and then starts climbing back down. But what was the other? I said Coinbase, maybe Coinbase. Oh no, I mean Coinbase. The thing is, Coinbase never had that pump. And yeah, Coinbase is going ham right now. But yeah, man, this is another one, another potential play tracking. But yeah, we have another 5 guys. If you want to, I'm here sharing a few with you guys, but get all these on the Discord. All these plays that we're tracking. One of the biggest ones we had right now was Enphase tracking the levels indicator. I want to talk about this real quick. But Enphase, we use this indicator here to get this this pump, this like short-term pump here on the levels indicator, being that it was oversold. Historically, on this chart, the last 5 times we averaged out about a 3-day before it hit that first level, which we were tracking here at 90. So contracts went from 25 cents to $3 when it hit that mark, and then they went higher, right? I mean, they went up to I think like 6 or 7 after that. One of the best plays here with this indicator a few weeks ago. So we got a lot of these little setups here, and they start as an option idea. It's like projecting where the price is going to go using these indicators, and then the options calculator as well that I have. These are the little indicator packs, guys. So you guys know we have spots, levels, the options calculator, all in one for crypto with Volt for crypto, and then CopyPat, which is really good at giving you a nice perspective on the on projection based on the fast Fourier transform. So all these indicators are available as well. Check it out, man. The link below. And I'm going to answer some questions. Okay. Go over GME. Yes, I can go over GME. All right, guys. So GME, very similar to what we had talked about with BNB. Okay, because GME has also had a lot more more volatility zones than even AMC, and in a way, following the cycle, we had. I mean, this thing was just following it like every 90 days, a little bit different from AMC. But the only thing with GME, and GME is worth more. I believe its market cap is like $3 billion or something, or close to it, at least, unless from last time I checked, yeah, 3 or 4 billion. So same thing, right? With market cap, like you got to look at that ratio. They had a split, so it works a little bit different there. Price was just too high. So we have it at 4. Its all-time low is the same thing, about 3. But now do the math a little bit, right? Because AMC is trading at almost 4 times less of market cap than GME. Fundamentals are different, but you do have to look. I mean, like I said, you have to look at fundamentals at the end of the day, especially right now, being that we are in a potentially accumulation. But I think GME, to me, just looks a little bit more like it's in distribution. And the reason for this, guys, and it's just based on the charts, okay, this thing is riding down. This is one of the other things I look at when looking at levels. When the price rides down inside the first level, and it's just riding it down. That means that it's having an extremely hard time crossing these bands. These bands are very important to cross. Now, I know it's up today. I know it's up 13%, and this doesn't mean that it's going to stop here, right? It's going very, it's looking good. But you do have to track, like everything else. You have to make sure that this is going to keep going up. Otherwise, you're just going to have another fake out, and it's just going to keep distributing on the way down. I'm going to show you some examples of this. So right now with GME, let's see. I have so many patterns, dude, on GME. But, actually, I was tracking AMC on GME because I thought, GME, like BNB, was basically behind in the cycle. It just took, man, with GME, you got these little pump and dumps, right? But AMC did it a lot quicker. It pumped and it dumped a lot quicker than GME. So GME right now seems to be in a, look at the similarities between the two here on AMC, right? Think of November time, 2021. You got a very similar match here, and a lot of these POIs we're tracking. So this being one of them, actually. This is one of the things that I had talked about with AMC. So AMC and GME have basically the same cycle, except they happen at different times, and also they happen, with fractals, in that some patterns are larger, some patterns are smaller. But the algorithm typically behaves the same way. So here's an example of a positive and inverse point of interest on GME, right? So we have both of these here. Here's the initial pattern we were tracking on GME, which is just August 2021 through December of 2022. Now, this entire, December of 2021, this entire pattern here, it follows to a T. And the crazy part about this is that if you flip it, right, you get the complete opposite happening here. And at this point, it kind of starts to stray away, right? Like we start to see that the algorithm is no longer tracking, but it's like it started a new cycle. And this is like one of the things I've learned about the cycles. Like once it stops tracking inverse or identical, there's the algorithm has picked up a new cycle. And you see this a lot with volume. This is where volume kicks in. You have almost a fake out happening here on GME, and then it starts doing something else. But the crazy thing is that sometimes it also comes back into the same world, and that's why right now we have this happening. Okay, so for a little bit here, it stopped tracking, but now you're starting to see it pick back up and almost finish this, what is supposed to be this distribution phase before it accumulates. I think GME is way behind. And I think AMC is going to go up first. And again, just based on the chart, I think AMC already did this. There's just such a big gap here in volume. It has not reached, it hasn't even gotten close to levels it had in December of 2020. AMC already did this. So it's just the analysis, guys. Not saying this is going to happen on GME, but I don't think this looks good. It's not choppy on the way down. It's highly controlled by the algorithm here. And you can also see that with volume. Volume is not, there's not that much volume right here, and the price is going down. So just my thoughts on GME. I think it'll have its time, but I think before it does that, it'll come down and grab some liquidity here at potentially 5 or 6. Market cap. Look at market cap. AMC is at 1.2. GME is at 4. At some point, they were trading very similar market caps. All-time low is similar, about 3. Same with AMC, 3 million. So if this came back down and went into this liquidity zone here at 1, then that's 4 times the current price. That would be the extreme bearish scenario, but 4 divided by 15, guys, we're looking at about $3 $3 in price if GME has an extreme bearish case scenario. So I'm personally not looking for a a position on GME. I think this one is in distribution. But when it starts to accumulate, I think it also has a lot of potential because, well, look at the highs, right? It goes up to 120. So GME, man. GME being the GME. Yeah. This, I mean, look at the weekly chart, right? Weekly chart. Let's see what spots is looking like too. Here's spots. The waves crashing down. Okay. It still needs to. Yeah. It's, you gotta look at the rest of the market with these. This being a meme stock too. But yeah, and that's the thing, guys. You got to be, we saw this happen with AMC, so it's with AMC. It's just a prime example of like how you should be looking at things with everything in the market, because that's the ugly truth about the markets is that the algorithm is going to do whatever the algorithm's going to do, and the whole point in this, in this channel is that we try and crack down the cycle, narrow these things down, but like it's the hard truth, the way the markets work, sometimes ugly stuff. But yeah, well, I mean, I'm gonna keep updating GME as well. I mean, it's part of this whole thing in the end. All right, guys, that is it for me. 3 o'clock, market is closed. We will be going live at some point in the towards the end of the week, and then also I'm going to be posting a video on AMC in the near future. All right, guys, if you guys want more of this stuff, remember, click the link below. That'll take you straight to the Discord. Have some fun in there, all right, guys? We'll see you on the next stream. Bye-bye.